it is a spiritual feminine network, but we're all just business sisters and we all got our different genres. I'm in cannabis, you're in coaching women and empowerment and all of that. But we all come to the same thing. We're here to help lift women and help women feel better and stop suffering so much.
Welcome to Season 6 of the Cannabis Truth Podcast, where we speak the language of cannabis freely and uncensored while educating our audience on safe use of this live plant therapy. You should know what's in your cannabis, what's good and what's not, because cannabis does not come with an FDA stamp of approval, yet. The information you will find here comes straight from scientists and clinicians doing the work and reporting their findings in reputable outlets. Hopefully, we can inspire you to research the facts as we know them today. Cannabis is an amazing alternative in health remedies, with the potential to alleviate typical disease problems and troubling side effects, even those caused by synthetic prescriptions. Here now is the host of the Cannabis Truth Podcast. She is a 21st century cannabis shaman, not a doctor, not a scientist. Raised by nuns and wolves in the verdant cattle pastures of the Oklahoma oil fields, here to amplify the truth of this great big story of cannabis in historical, political, scientific, and spiritual terms, so you can make educated decisions about the medicine you choose to ingest. Please welcome Honey Smith-Walls.
Welcome, Helena Peters, to the Cannabis Truth Podcast. And dear audience, let me just say that Helena has a beautiful new forum called Freedom to Be Me. And I got to tell you, every time I get around my sister here, I just want to gussy up a little bit. I feel a little lighter in my step. She just inspires me to be all the girl and woman that I can be in all of my own autonomy, because she is a woman's empowerment coach, an author, and a global transformational speaker. And proudly, my sister in business, Helena Peters. So welcome, darling. Welcome to the Cannabis Truth Podcast.
Thank you, honey. I really appreciate this opportunity, and I'm quite wowed by the work that you're doing, helping us to reconnect with plant medicine of any sort so that we're closer to Mother Earth and the feminine energy that she offers.
Helena, this is exactly why I need you on this podcast. Even though we are in different industries, we are in the same global womanly sisterhood and network of lifting other women.
Absolutely.
And that's our new network, I want to call it. And
sisterhood. I call it sisterhood.
I keep calling them all sisters, and it feels like that. It's amazingly exciting to have this kind of support, isn't it?
It is, absolutely. You know, one of the many problems with the patriarchy is that the social conditioning has created this competition between women, for the limited resources, if you will. Yeah. And it's time for it to stop.
Well, we can change anytime we want to. And although it hasn't come easily for us as women to make changes in this world, we've certainly been trying to balance the patriarchy with the matriarchy. And so, we're just built differently. We're built differently inside. Our emotions are different. We trigger differently. We think differently in the same circumstances. Our go-to emotions are different. Just all kinds of things going on that is different between us, although we're, 99.9% the same.
Well, yeah, a little bit of backstory on me. So
Yeah.
I started my company, Free to Be Me, which is a women's empowerment company in 2012.
Oh,
And, really what I want to do is to help women understand that the patriarchal system is programming us to try to be more masculine. And the masculine is in the head, it's all in our head. And for men and women both, because men have divine feminine within them too. But this emphasis on intellect has caused us to be completely disengaged with our instincts and our intuition. And so, my hope is to help strengthen the feminine wing of humanity because it's broken, it's shriveled, and that's why everything's spinning out of control.
oh, that is such a descriptive word, shriveled.
Yeah. And, it's up to us, wise women, or once known as witches, to take that stance, to be the savvy, sexy sister that's ready to create a sensational new season, not just for ourselves, not just for our sisters, but for humanity as a whole.
Right. Right. What did you say? The savage, sexy sister?
Savvy.
Savvy.
Yeah. Savage could be there too.
And that's what I call myself. There's a song called Savage Daughter, and it describes me perfectly. I am my mother's savage daughter.
I am my mother's savage daughter.
Hi, Honey Smith Walls here. I'm host of the Cannabis Truth Podcast, weekly for the past 6 years. But today I'm inviting you to a Facebook group called the Holistic Relief Summit, in hopes that you too will come for the peace and stay for the epiphanies. It's a beautiful space for women to find all kinds of relief from all kinds of suffering. Come join us for free.
Well, hello, I'm Dr. Philip Blair, and I want to introduce you to Honey Smith Walls. And she recently had an experience with beta caryophyllene.
For years, I've been dealing with lots of arthritis pain and pain from neuropathy that has not been resolved through other prescriptive methods. As an advocate educator in the cannabis industry, I learn lots of interesting information about the compounds within the plants, and one of those turned out to be beta caryophyllene.
What was your first dose like?
I was gobsmacked, absolutely gobsmacked. It has given me my future back.
I want to get it out to everybody too. I want to get it out to the whole world, as a matter of fact. It has so many mitigating factors for all the stresses of life and pain and diseases. It is unbelievable, the spectrum of care that it can provide.
Savvy, sexy women means not so much to me about sexuality as it does about feminine autonomy and
sovereignty.
Sovereignty, yes.
Sovereignty.
Reclaiming
And
our own power.
A lot of the shaming of women that came about with the patriarchal taking over really is, though, connected to our sexuality, and our sexuality is so connected to our nervous system. So, in that respect, I think it's important to own our sexuality.
Wow, you just blow my mind with all these little epiphanies. and that's what our network does. We give these freely to our sister attendees who come to see our stages. Would you like to kind of explain what's going on with our stages and stuff?
Oh, it's just been an amazing opportunity. There are so many sisters that I've come to know over this last year, actually.
Me too.
that have profound messages to offer related to healing our trauma, stepping into our sovereignty, and being the highest expression of ourselves. Now, the interesting thing to me is that, it's really the same message from everyone, just about. I mean, there are some nuances like you with cannabis, but it's the same message. It's just different flavors. And
That's right.
so different flavors are going to resonate with different audiences.
That's right. That's right. And everybody's needs are so unique.
Mhm.
But because of the breadth of experience that you will find in these forums online for free to the attendees, because of the breadth of that wisdom, you're able to pick and choose what you need most first.
Yeah.
You can go back and replay and listen to it over and over again. You can choose different speakers who will absolutely give you amazing information and epiphanies that you may have expected from your mother or your grandmother and just didn't get.
No,
for whatever.
and nothing against them. They were doing the best that they could do from
With the
their level of
information they had.
consciousness.
And the culture they lived in, very, like you said, cloistering cultures.
So I'm a challenger by nature. So I'm going to challenge something that you said. You always welcome that.
I do.
I do think we all need different flavors.
Yeah.
But I think at the end of the day, what we really need, all of us, is to really come to know ourselves better, come to trust ourselves better, and heal the repressed trauma that we all have. Okay, I don't care if you had what seemed like a perfect childhood. Life is traumatic, and as long as that is buried down inside, and we haven't made any effort to connect with it and feel it, because you do have to feel it to heal it. And most people are running from it. So that's what I think the common threads are in what we all need.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. And I learned that little tidbit through some male thought leaders like Eckhart Tolle and Joe Dispenza and Panache Desai. And then it occurred to me, because I was learning immersively, for months on end with each thought leader.
I've spent years with several of those and have attended particularly Joe Dispenza's events. And
God, he's amazing.
He is amazing. But, my different flavor of it is, after that chapter of me evolving was over, I was introduced to Tantra, and have been studying with some Tantra leaders for a while. And again, it's not that one is better than the other, but I really love that it is a wisdom tradition. It's a time-tested technology that takes us back before the patriarchal overtaking. And it gives us permission to be the goddess. To know that, we all have divine masculine, which is God. We all have divine feminine, which is the goddess. And, we've just, because of the horrific things that happened in the patriarchal takeover, women burned at the stake, everything, we've been denied access to that part of our lineage.
In hopes of controlling us.
Absolutely, because that was the only, they wanted, oh boy, I'm getting into touchy territory that turns some people off, but it is what it is.
You are you here, baby.
There were the goddess religions, and then the patriarchy came into play, all of the male dominated religions. And they were teaching you that, you should fear God, and that you had to come to church, worship, and tithe in order to have access to God. Well, the goddess religions were teaching you embodiment practices to have a direct experience with the divine. And so the only way that they could, and it was typically wise women, the older women who, had lived life and knew. And so what did they do? They made them into witches and, ugly things, and caused them to hate their bodies, hate their sexuality. And by creating that hatred of self, that's how they took over.
I'm reliving all of that history in my head as you're recounting it.
And we have that stored in our bodies.
Yes.
What? We have our own traumas, but we have that as well. And, when you have a message that's controversial and goes against the mainstream hypnosis of social conditioning, there's this part inside of you, or at least I know in me, that's like, oh, I'm going to be burned at the stake.
And yet we do have that very real history to fear. So we know that, these thoughts have been put into actuality. Mm-hmm. And so we have real cause to fear men.
Yeah.
And so we live in anxiety and fear as women.
I mean,
most television is about slashing and killing and maiming and raping and, all of that stuff. I can't watch TV anymore. I turned TV off. Are you listening? I turned TV off in 2009 because it's all fear-based. There's nothing that I can do about it. So it just keeps your nervous system in that fight or flight mode, which, steals from your joy, steals from your health, steals from your creativity. And so a prescription of high blood pressure medication.
Yeah. Right.
You keep your body in tenseness like that and anxiety and fear, and it will create a disease. And
then dis-ease. It puts you, you're not at ease. And so then you're in dis-ease. And then, of course, the pharmaceutical companies are right there to dole out, and they've trained even the best of doctors to believe that that's the answer. But in honesty, I believe, and through my coaching practice over the last 10 years, have seen many women take their health into their own hands, learn what modes of working with their nervous system, et cetera, to promote health, well-being, happiness, creativity.
Do you speak to your clients about hormones? The reason I ask is because I can't get, the same answer out of any two doctors about what I should do about hormones. At 70, I'm still asking this question because I've been through a gamut of experiments with hormones, I guess I can call them.
I mean, I would say don't ever take hormones, not bioidentical or anything. And, but everybody has a different idea. I believe food is medicine. So we have to look at what foods we're eating and what hormonal response they have. But the key really to hormones or any health imbalance has to do with learning how to work with your nervous system and to get the energy to flow properly so that all the cells are communicating properly and can release the good hormones. And the thing about watching the news and getting yourself all worked up and being in fear is that creates a cascade of chemicals, hormones in your body that creates illness and disease. Or you can focus on things that make you feel good and create a cascade of healing chemicals.
There it is. There it is. And nobody taught us that in school. Why not? It's infuriating to me, and yet knowing it now, I live in this joy because I am disciplined enough in my mind to cull the crap.
Yeah. And then, Joe Dispenza, who you mentioned, is really the person that completely opened my eyes to all of this.
Me too.
And at the end of the day, if you're still asking doctors, if you're still looking for something outside of you, then you still have some subconscious beliefs that you need to work with to get past that.
They also don't tell us in school that we need to heal our inner child trauma. And like you said, everybody begins life with inner child trauma just from coming through the chute. It's traumatic on the body to the baby. So you come into this world in trauma and physical trauma, most of them.
And it's, like I said, it's the inner child, absolutely. Then it's the collection of all of the different things that happened to you that created complex trauma that you never allowed yourself to feel. You just stuffed it. And it's in there and it's running the show. And then beyond that, I mean, something new to me in the last couple years is the idea of intergenerational trauma and our lineage and what we have. And so that is why my logo features the dark goddess, because everything that's running the show is hidden. There's this 2% of us that's who we think we are, how we present. And then there's all this other crap inside that until it is seen and heard and released is running most of the show.
Hold that beautiful logo up again and let us see it. It's really gorgeous.
Thank you.
Really a great logo. And I didn't know about the dark goddess. And I love that whole idea.
Oh yeah. It gets spicy too, because like one of the things that I do is work with the 6 faces of the goddess, and many of them that have the most transformational impact are the dark goddesses, because those are the repressed parts of us, the parts that we deny. But really, we have all of it. And it gets a little complicated to go into in a short session like this, but
it's so interesting. You're sucking me right into it.
Well, and it's an embodiment practice, so it gives you a break. You get out of your head and you get in and you experience, seeing the world through the eyes of the different goddesses.
Wow. And that's exactly where we want to be, is out of our own head and out of our own thinking.
Well, I often say, that we have this, we have access within us to the divine mind, to all of the knowledge in the world. Okay. But then we also have our little mind, which our society, worships, like, oh, your intellect, develop your intellect. And when we're just doing the things that we do, like driving a car, once you've learned, you're just doing it. And really it is that inner intelligence that's doing that. But then you get a really tough problem and you get up in your little mind instead of accessing, this deeper wisdom. And I like to say things that make me laugh. So it makes me laugh to think you've got this, complex computer with Excel capabilities and everything, doing the math of day-to-day living. And then you get a big problem and you pull out your abacus and you start moving the beads.
I see what you mean. Yeah, that's a bit going backwards, ain't it? Yeah, we have the ability to be so complex, and yet, boy, we can sure muck up all that complex stuff going on, can't we?
Yeah. And, complexity, I think, is also another thing. My coaching framework, I call it KISS, keep it super simple.
Yeah.
Because the truth typically lies behind all of the complexity.
Well,
so you got to go through it, right? Go through it. But when you think about people like Joe Dispenza and others, I don't know. I know Eckhart, but not well. Panache, I know, I love him. But Dr. Joe is, like, I don't know. I think he articulates it all in a masculine format, though.
True. Which made me wonder, where are all the women, which I found in our sisterhood.
Mm-hmm.
See, I was totally immersed in the patriarchal discipline of the thoughts, but I couldn't find the women. And as soon as I jumped into this network, here we all are. And it's suddenly, and the women have been saying the same thing. And all those guys say the same thing too. Yeah. It's inside of us.
Yeah, well, Dr. Joe, most of his audience is women. I wish there were more men, because I'd like to meet some awake men that are on a good path. but what he talks about is a clear intention, which is a masculine trait, and an elevated emotion, which is a feminine trait. And so, you're placing your order, but then you're calling it in. And that's why you need both.
Well, you certainly do. It seems, the yin and the yang and all of that. And I don't know much about chakras, but from the little teeny bit, I know how to say the word, and that's about it. The little tiny bit I know, I want more. I want to understand that ancient wisdom.
Well, chakras, I really, you've heard it's a little cliche, but, everything is energy and energy is everything. And your chakras are your energy systems. And I teach my clients a practice of running both the divine masculine that comes in through the crown of your head and the divine feminine, which comes up from your spine, and running those through to clean your energy centers. That's what chakras are. And run that energy all the way through your body, and then shower out and cleanse your aura so that your light can really shine, so that all of the ickiness that has, like, every time you've been triggered or things have happened that dims your light. So that's chakras basic.
So I just even learned that being able to take a deep breath in and breathing out gets that energy moving.
Get
like
some
if
of that
you had a shitty day, you can breathe that stuff out of you and out of your mind. It's just that's
actually working with your nervous system to move out of fight or flight and into stay and play, as I call it.
I like that term.
Yeah, stay and play.
Yeah.
Like, if you're feeling like you're in danger and you've got to be watching for danger, you're really not open to connecting. You're really not open to learning new things. You're really not, open into, well, you're not open. You're closed. You're restricted. You're running. You're hiding.
I want to give the audience a little example of what you just said. If you're walking on eggshells in your own home around somebody because you don't want to trigger them, you're in a state of fight or flight.
Well, I spent 14 years in a narcissistic abuse relationship, which was part of what's driving my passion. However, I will say that I was fortunate enough to have myself a big old resiliency toolbox, because I had learned so many tools that allowed me to not stay in fight or flight all of the time. So I could manage it because of those tools, and also because my mom had a severe mental illness. So I built that resiliency toolbox at a very young age. But just because you can do something doesn't mean you should.
Right.
And so I finally got the grit and grace in 2022 to liquidate everything that I had worked my entire life for, and walk away from that. And I went to the country of Panama, where I spent 2 years, really rediscovering myself,
wow.
tapping into my passion and pleasure. And then I just returned to the US here in May.
So you found healing in Panama by getting away from that long-term situation that you'd been suffering for all those years.
Well, I really do think that we do need to create space, because one of the things that I wanted to do was forgive him and to be able to have empathy for him, because I loved the man at one time. But, we had all of our people that knew us and everything. And so I just thought, hey, the easiest way for a clean break is to just create the distance, enough distance where I can love him, have empathy for him, but love, honor, and respect myself too.
That's where I am now with the memory of my mother and with the memory of my spouse, who died a year and a half or so ago. He was quite mean to me the last 10 years, but I adored that man. I just adored that man. And I couldn't fucking figure out what was wrong with me. Do you hear me, girls? What was wrong with me that was pissing him off so bad that every time I opened my mouth, it triggered him. And he'd say something, ugly back to me. And I just had the hardest. And then I found those guys, the thought leaders. And then I realized, if I would just keep my mouth shut and work on myself and not worry about what's going on in his head, thinking about me or what his intentions are or anything, that's where I gained peace too. Helena, it's amazing that we are not taught how to find peace internally, that we've always culturally been taught to seek peace from outside of ourselves.
Yeah. Well, actually, I believe peace and everything that we're looking for is inside, and it's right there, but we're looking out here. Yeah. And so the gift of that 14-year relationship is the deep dive that I took into knowing myself, knowing my triggers, knowing my traumas, and the time that I had to heal them. While he was in his favorite thing was to ignore you, the silent treatment and the, just like you're invisible. And it actually, in ways, it was a gift.
Yes. Yeah, I know that treatment that you're talking about.
Yeah.
And it's so hard when you're a loving, nurturing woman who just wants to talk and communicate and talk. Just talk to them.
And you care about them. So you want to know what's going on and you want to help. But I don't know.
They don't communicate the way we do.
Oh my God! Well, no, it's a manipulation. Their entire thing is a manipulation, and it's sad because that it is their unprocessed trauma that is leading them to be that way. But I took a course actually to help clients on narcissism, and I'd never even heard of it. I didn't know what a narcissist was.
What was that course like?
It was very interesting, but there are different types of narcissists, and you start off talking about the grandiose narcissist, and I really don't like all these labels, but it does give us a framework to talk about. Yeah. But my guy wasn't that at all. He was a vulnerable narcissist. And when we got into that chapter, I was like, oh my God,
here he is.
My life. This is how I live every day. And so a big part of right out of the gate, from the minute I met him, he was trying to leveling, which is put you down in some way so that he felt a little better.
Ooh.
And then the gaslighting where, it's him that's doing things and stuff, but he's saying it's you doing it.
Yeah.
And then he would vacillate between the just complete silence and ignoring and rage, come in enraged about something. And somehow I was on the other person's side. So.
Right. Oh my gosh.
It's a silent epidemic.
Thank you. I was just trying to say so many women live this shit.
It is. And at the end of the day, it's typically us big, open-hearted, caring women that attract them because
Yeah.
our qualities are attractive to
Yes.
them, right?
Yes. Yes.
And there's so much that, even within the spirituality and personal development world that I disagree with when they say, you attract what energy you put out, because no, I didn't have any of that energy. It's the polarity that attracts. Like, you're this big-hearted, forgiving, loving, caring person, and here's this person that just needs more, more, more. So I think the best description of it for the polarity concept is they're the extreme takers and we're the extreme givers.
Girl, the epiphanies just keep coming with you. I am telling you, this is deep, deep inner child therapy that we're talking about right here.
Yeah.
It just takes talk, girls. It just takes talk, guys. It just takes talk.
Well, yeah, but you have to be willing to be vulnerable enough to truly share. So an individual, be it a man or a woman, because I don't want to be acting like all women are this way, because I know plenty of women that are more in their masculine, more in denial, more in their intellect, not willing to be vulnerable. They're guarded. They've got their armor on. They're putting their mask on for the world.
Yeah.
And I was that woman for a long time because of everything that I endured through my childhood. And damn it, it was working for me. I was armored up and ready to fight the fight, and truthfully, I didn't fully take the armor off until I was in Panama. And I laid that armor down and I allowed myself to feel a whole lifetime of feelings that I had been denying, that I had been, I really didn't know they were there, but they were running the show. But when you take that armor off, the longer you've had it on, now it's all your ooey gooey parts are exposed and you're so vulnerable, right?
Yeah.
And it can make life a little scary, but
Yeah.
I'd much rather be my authentic self than be armored.
Right. It's lonely being armored because you don't trust.
Mm-mm.
And when you have trust, then you've got help. You can find help.
Yeah, well, that's true. It also, when you're armored, you feel like nobody gets you, no one understands you. Like you're not connecting, and it's because they don't know who you are. You're hiding who you are.
And then you read your life on, black and white and wonder how many other people have gone through the same thing you have because they're they're culturally created.
So the tantric path is what allowed me to open up and feel all of that, the space, the slowing down. Like I had always been at a fast pace doing a million things.
Oh.
And it was a much slower kind of lifestyle. And, at the heart, what Tantra is all about, because it's not just about sex. I mean, that's a branch. It's a time-tested technology and it's spiritual enlightenment.
Uh-huh.
And what it teaches you is that, if you fall in love with life, life falls in love with you, and that you can't control it, and so many of us are trying to control everything. But if you just trust life and show up with life and dance with life and be open to what comes and be open to the fact that you can deal with whatever comes. And so that's what I really love about that path.
Yeah. Up until I jumped into this amazing, I want to call it a spiritual, but it's a feminine network. It is a spiritual feminine network, but we're all just business sisters and we all got our different genres. I'm in cannabis, you're in coaching women and empowerment and all of that. but we all come to the same, that we're here to help lift women and help women feel better and stop suffering so much. Oh, I had a point going on there, but I'm sorry, I forgot what I was going to say. But this has been an important epiphany for me to realize that other women feel the way I do about our global position in today's world. We need lifting. And so we can find it through finding each other and listening to the experience of these wise women.
Well, and what I love about it is that, again, I think that we are these savvy, sexy sisters that are rebelling, a radical act of rebellion against the patriarchy, against everyone who profits from our dissatisfaction. And we're proving that women don't have to compete for the limited resources. That's a male model, We can come together as sisters and support each other, and we can all.
Right. I'd like to give you a little example of that attitude in my industry. When you go into a dispensary to buy cannabis in this state, it can it's a recreational state, and all these businesses are run by men. And so when you go in to buy cannabis, you buy something in a flashy thing that talks about your hymen, or there's one that's called pink pussy cannabis. You don't know what's really in it. It's got a little thing that says it's got some stuff in it, but mostly it's just they're selling high THC. They don't care about the patient. And what bothers me is this sexual thing going on in marketing to other men about women. And it aggravates the hell out of me because this stuff is medicine. Yeah, you can get high on it, but most of us elders don't want it. And so in my industry, I'm trying to help people understand how to use this stuff safely and effectively. But I can't talk to a patient about pink pussy or hymen THC. That's ridiculous. That there's no scientific anything behind that.
Yeah.
So
I hear you. That is frustrating.
That patriarchy attitude in our marketing is what you and I and our other business sisters are avoiding and going around and getting rid of in our network.
Well, I'm a little outside of the box on this from you, honey. But, one of my favorite teachers is Mama Gina, and she started the School of Womanly Arts. And her best-selling book is entitled Pussy, a Reclamation. And for us to just get rid of all of the negative whatever
connotation.
And she's a woman putting it out there. And really, that's what I'm saying. That part of our body is the portal to life. So why are we ashamed of it? Why is that word disgusting? Why, and
I'm with you.
And so I'm against the patriarchal, sex has been, pornography and all of the things, the degrading things around women. Of course, I'm completely opposed to those.
That's what I'm opposed to.
For women to own everything about themselves, including their sexuality, including their pussy, I'm all for that.
I'm all for that too. In fact, it was you and Vireo who have actually given me back my own sexual autonomy. And audience Vireo is another Vireo Karovan.
Yeah, I've met her.
She's amazing.
And then Grisha, there's another one. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a couple others, and just listening to them about reclaiming your own sexuality as a woman, because unbeknownst to me, I totally gave all of my sexual control over to every man I've ever known.
Well, yeah.
Until I was made aware of that.
Right. Well, that was the biggest wounding in my narcissistic abuse relationship. I mean, he was hell bent on making sure that I knew that I wasn't desirable, and so I came to believe, well, that was because he had some sexual, I don't know what his issue was.
Yeah, right.
But anyhow, before him, I had good sex, and after him, I've had good sex.
So it must not have been you.
So, but when I tell this story when I'm speaking, when I was in Panama, I met a man, and we were just acquaintances at first, and over time we grew to be friends, and then it became romantic, and then we lived together for 8 months. My Latin lover.
Nice.
And I gave myself, but he was there to help me rediscover parts of me that I thought were dead. And so 8 months with him cured 14 years of that other bullshit.
Yeah. Oh, glad to hear it. Glad to hear it. Yeah. I'm real glad to hear it. That's a happy ending if ever you needed one.
But it's not dependent on him. I need to make that clear. I mean, that was great. And he will always have a special place in my heart, but our lifestyles weren't compatible, but he played a role in helping me to rediscover those parts of me. And what's interesting when we talk about health, I have had very few health incidents. I'm not into doctors. I'm not into medicine. But when I made the decision that the sexual part of my life was over and I was going to give that up to be with him for these other things on the checklist, I ended up having to have a complete hysterectomy, because every time I would stand up and I would bleed out. I'd be at a meeting, I'd be at a conference, and boom, just bleed out. And I tried all different things, but really I believe that was my body saying, how dare you give up this significant part of who you are to be with someone?
Ooh, girl, that's deep. Wow. How did you manage going through hysterectomy? Okay.
Oh, they ended up thinking I had cancer, and they did it the hard way, and I wasn't a good patient. So I was supposed to be in the hospital for a few days, but they kicked me out early because I wouldn't comply. And yeah, I really did, the things with my nervous system. I did things around belief system. And so I didn't do any of the things that people typically do.
Yeah. But you made it through. You know who made it through menopause without any indication of effects was Pat Bozeman, our sister from South Africa, through reflexology.
Yeah. I do facial reflexology. I didn't do it then, but again, it all has to do, that has to do with the energy in your body.
Moving that energy, right?
Yeah. But the thing that, as I look back, and it's just something I didn't know at the time, but I always had a lot of really self-care practices. I meditated, I ate healthy, I prioritized sleep, I exercised. Did I say that twice? I don't know. Anyhow, I had a whole litany of things. Self-care. I'm proving that I love myself, but I was betraying myself by allowing someone to treat me the way that he treated me. And so all that ever did was just keep you at like you couldn't excel. You were just constantly,
Hitting the
And-
top of the box.
Yeah. So I finally let that go. I mean, it's like, no, it's so now, and people will think that I'm kind of, but hey, I don't care what they think. I'm really clear about my boundaries. I mean, if you're a person that I feel good when I'm around you and you respect me, and you can be as different as me from night and day, but you respect me, then that's great, and I'll do it. But as soon as respect isn't being served, I'm gone.
Well, it's a serious message that we all need to ingrain in our little minds about
Mhm.
ourselves.
Yeah.
But it's really hard to do when we've been culturally pounded upon as the feminine. I'm just going to say the feminine collective has been culturally pounded upon to stay down, stay in your place, stay down.
Yeah. I don't know. That makes it easier for me because I want to rebel against it. I'm like,
I feel the same way.
Yeah.
I'm a rebellion. I always have been. I've always been a handful, and people have said it all my life. I'm 70.
so, I not only was I in the small box of that relationship and how he defined me, but I was also in a job where the same thing was happening. And I'm not doing the small box anymore, ever again.
Yeah, ever again. No. Every old man I walk by, I say, oh, thank you. No, thank you. Thank you. No, thank you. No, thank you. So glad. Thank you. No, thank you. Although I do have to say that Kurt Russell sure makes a cute Santa Claus, doesn't it?
Well, I love men, and I hope that I can. I mean, I've been dating, and but there are, like, where do you find the ones that are on a similar path to mine, who are awake and who are interested in knowing themselves and healing themselves? Because I don't want to be with somebody that's just being triggered all the time and I gotta, bounce around it. I'm not interested.
Right. Or somebody who wants to control.
Yeah.
That's not it. I don't know. Maybe we should go look in the audiences of Joe Dispenza and Eckhart Tolle and Panache Desai.
I really do believe that that's where we would find, that you've got to go to those things. I know I've gone to a couple Mind Valley events. I don't know if you're familiar with them.
I am. Love Mind Valley. Mind Valley.
And I took so many of their courses, and I think that Vishen Lakhiani and what he has made available at such a reasonable cost is just unbelievable, wonderful.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Just real quick. So, I mean, it's a younger demographic of men, but it does give me hope because I see how different they are than the men of our generations.
Right. So we do see change.
I do see it.
What I was going to say, can we just talk about finding help for a second?
Yes.
Because I thought I was alone in this world after my husband died. I thought I was just alone. Yeah. And then I began getting involved in this sisterhood, this business network. And yes, I invested money into this. So it's not just a network. It has been an education that I've paid for. And the bonus has been the network of loving sisters, business sisters, that I have gained over the past year. So I want the audience to understand that it's okay to pay for a sponsorship or a coach or a mentor. Some mentors are free, of course, but others, if you need help in some area of your life, whether it's personal or business, it's okay to go find somebody you think might lead you out of that, whatever it is. And it's okay to find somebody free to do that. And it's okay to find paid help, who's got, education and expertise behind them and credentials or whatever that, they're still paying for. It's okay to find anybody who you think can help you, who is older and wiser and going to lead you out of this mess, whatever it is.
I couldn't agree more. And, I'm curious and I'm a truth seeker. So I'm always seeking, new opportunities to be mentored through free or paid.
Yes.
To have new perspectives, new paradigms introduced to me. But at the end of the day, I went through, the cost of freedom was high. So it really was. But you know what? If I had to choose between giving up food or giving up my coach, I'd give up food to the extent that I could. Because a coach is just, first of all, I think you have to find the one that resonates with you. Everybody can't be coached by the same people. And to me, what a coach's role is, first of all, they provide a safe space, and they're present and they're there. They show up, which most of the people we interact with aren't. So they're present to whatever shows up with you. And then you can express your feelings. And it isn't so much that they tell you what to do. They direct you to start trusting yourself and your inner guidance, because I believe that we are all loaded and coded with everything that we need. It's just, we're so distracted by the noise outside of us that we don't access it.
Right. And we don't know how to shut out the noise.
Yeah. So that's how a coach can really help you too. They can give you tools for that resiliency toolbox, but you have to do the work. Nobody can do it for you. You have to take the time. You have to make it a part of your daily life, that you do the things that support your overall health, well-being, happiness.
That's right. I can't tell you how important my coaches have been and what they've meant to me. Mm-hmm. And that's why I wanted to talk about, giving the audience permission to seek and pay for good life coaching. We didn't need it. We didn't get all of the information from our own family, from our own school, from our own culture. We don't know how to stop this racket or chaos upstairs. We don't know how to find peace from within ourselves, because we've always been taught to seek peace from somebody else.
Yeah. And
help us.
I couldn't agree more. I really couldn't. I've been working with my coach for 10 years.
Oh, wow.
So it isn't like you get to this place. Our entire life, it's a peeling of the onion. There's always more to get to, and I just always feel so much more grounded, so much more sure of myself, so much more invigorated about what life holds after I've had my session with her.
And I'm sure that's how your clients feel after they've had a session with you too, darling.
I believe so.
Yeah, it's so important for us to be together and to get past our triggers and to heal our inner child. This is all our same mantra. All of us business sisters have learned this and are passing this information on. And we can help you get through your stuff in our different ways, but come to find yourselves with the help of somebody who's already been there and has this ancient wisdom to share with you now.
Right. I like to call mine more of a peer support thing, because there are people that have more credentials than I do, but I don't know about you, but like if I'm walking a path out of narcissistic abuse, for example, I don't really care about the letters behind their name. I want to know, have they experienced this? Have they done it? Have they healed from it? And so I think there's a lot of value in that. And my coach, even though she is a PhD and was a therapist for years, in the early 2000s, she said, I'm not helping these people. I'm not helping them. With this talk, and we keep going deeper, but we never resolve anything. So I'm blowing it all up, and I'm going to start a practice where I teach different energy techniques like Reiki, like Eden medicine. Is it Eden medicine? Anyhow, she says, because it isn't what I learned in school to get this PhD after my name that qualifies me. It's my own journey through my own healing. And I love that. That has really stuck with me. And she really encouraged me, because she said, Helena, I've been with hospitals and government entities and my own private practice, and participated in groups of, people that were therapists, even psychiatrists, psychologists. And I can count on one hand the number of people who actually did the work. And she says, you've done the work, you've lived it. So, I am 500% behind you sharing it. And so that's why I started coaching back in 2012. And I have complete faith in my ability to coach. But this new venture of mine, speaking, that's a completely different skill set than coaching. Coaching is you're present, you're available, you listen, you respond. This looking at the camera and blah, 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 trying to talk about something that will pull someone in is it's a new skill set that I'm working on.
Well, you're doing it very well. And I just got to say, as you were sitting there explaining what you do as a coach, I'm thinking to myself, God, I could never be a coach like her. I'm just not that person. I don't coach women. And then you said what you did, and I'm thinking, that fits me exactly. I can sit here and look at that camera and talk to a camera, all day long.
Yeah. and yeah, I'm, so, but I'm doing it because of the fact that I know that narcissistic abuse is an insidious, silent epidemic. And I want women to know that they can heal, that they're not alone, that there is help. So I'm doing the best I can to get this skill set together to broaden my reach and help more women.
Well, I feel you coming through here. I feel your energy. And so that's why it's important for us to be in front of the camera, so that our attendees, when we're on stage, will feel us too. And I want you to know personally, I feel you coming through.
Oh,
so when you're speaking, you're doing great, and you're reaching people. And narcissism and the issues involved in a relationship because of narcissistic, attitudes is real. And
it's very real.
It's an epidemic, and we don't talk about it nearly enough. So I think what you're doing is timely, especially for the new year coming in the next 4 years. It's going to be a bigger, more broadly discussed issue, and you're getting right at the heart of it, right in this network. And so when you're on stage, don't you have a free gift that you offer the attendees?
I absolutely do.
Would you like to offer that here? We'd love to hear about it.
Sure. Well, my free gift is 6 secrets to sexy confidence. Because, this whole being beat down and not being sure of ourselves thing is really at the root of all of this. So I would invite, I'm Helena Peters on Facebook. People can reach out to me, DM me, and I will get their information and get that gift to them if they're interested. I would also like to invite them to join the sisterhood that I organized, which is called Savvy Sexy Sisters creating a sensational new season. And maybe, yeah, so maybe we could put that in your show notes.
You bet.
They can also reach me via text or call. Text is probably best at 330-800-1833.
That's a pretty easy number. That's great.
Yeah. So that's available globally. It's my Google Voice number, so that when I was living in Panama, I could still connect with people in the US, and I have clients from all over. So, because we are still all humans. All of those country borders and everything are just man-made things, right?
They sure are just man-made things.
So yes, I mean, I really, and two things I'd like to close with, if I may.
Sure, of course.
Is, my desire to create a women's empowerment company was born out of watching my beautiful mother's spirit, mind, and body be destroyed by mental illness, by the cocktails of toxic pharmaceuticals, by the barbaric treatment modalities, and last but certainly not least, the stigma associated with the label that she was given. So that's the power and the heart behind the work that I do. And then, again, a little controversial, but we have to understand that, I say a goal, excuse my French, of becoming unfuckwithable.
Yes, I love that.
But to be unfuckwithable, one of the things that we have to do is we have to be able to forgive ourselves and forgive others. Because as long as we carry that with us, it holds us back, it holds us down. So, and there are a lot of different tools.
Helena, tell us what it means to forgive. What does that mean does that mean that I can let go of the angst? Does it mean that
it's letting go? One of the best analogies that I've heard is that it's not the snake bite that kills you, but the venom. So we carry all of this residual venom. And that is part of what my trek to Panama was about, is I didn't want to carry venom about what he did to me over that period of time. And also, oh boy, it just has layers. I mean, responsibility, personal responsibility. I mean, I have to be able to look at the role I played in that relationship dynamic. Responsibility does not mean fault or blame. It's your ability to respond and what you allowed, right? And
recognized, right?
Yeah, the awareness that, I allowed it. I allowed it.
Yes. And I created at least half of it.
Yeah.
My husband was mean to me the last 10 years of his life, but the last 10 days of his life, he had returned to his old precious, adoring, darling self that I, fell madly in love with. And I don't think of the last 10 years that he was mean to me. I think of the last 10 days that he adored me.
Yeah. Well, we all have a different,
right, forgiveness.
We've all had a different relationship dynamic, but a part of mine was forgiving me because the red flags were there with my guy. There is no precious time that there ever was with him. It was just me meeting him at a time when I'd hit a rough spot in my career, and I'd buried my entire family, and I felt alone, and on paper he was everything that everybody said I should want. So there's no precious love story to look back to on mine.
Yeah, I'm lucky in that way, but you still managed to forgive. And how did you teach yourself to do that with this miserable time in your life?
Well, I recognized the role that I played, and he was nasty and hurtful, and he had been through some tough times, and so the role that I played in creating this mess was, first of all, I excused him with the hurt people, and I thought I could help him. I thought I could heal him. I thought that, this projection of all that he could be, that was me projecting onto him, was possible. And it soon became clear that, I jumped through hoops to change things that were what I thought was making him miserable. And we don't have time to go into all of that.
Yeah,
but then
right.
something else, and it just never ended. And so, and then, like I said, once I took that course and saw that, oh my God, this is my life, there was no looking back after that.
Once you know the truth, you can't get away from it.
Yeah. And recognizing that, I love Dr. Phil says this about narcissists. He was above my pay grade. There was no helping him. And
he was above my pay grade too.
So I couldn't, and you can only help someone when they want to help. They really have to help themselves. You can support them, you can point them in the right direction. I think a coach shines the light and has the mirror for reflection. But if somebody doesn't think there's anything wrong with them and it's all you and everybody else, you can't really do anything with that.
No, and that's the beauty of a sister recognizing that she needs help and coming to you to find it, to get out of that narcissistic relationship and headspace and turn your life back into the you that it should be. And that's where you can find help, is with Helena Peters.
Oh, thank you so much, honey. I appreciate that. I've really enjoyed chatting with you. I do better with the interactive talking than I do just looking at me in the camera.
You do great on camera, darling. You're a mover and a shaker, and you are wonderful to watch. And you've got so much wisdom and so many epiphanies just popped into my mind while you were talking. So I know that that's what other audience will feel from you, because I did. Like I said earlier, I feel you coming through. And that's what's so wonderful about this kind of technology. It's really energy that just comes shooting right through the camera, right through the screen, and here we are. So I want to thank you, darling sister. I'm so proud to be your business sister and involved in the collective of lifting women, rising women, rising.
Yeah.
So
Likewise,
what you do is
honey.
important.
Yeah, likewise, honey. I really, I admire what you're doing, how bold you are, in getting your message out. And yes, it's been a great experience getting to know you and having this chance to share a little bit about what I do, who I am.
Well, we'd love for you to come back anytime. You got a new thing going on, or you just want to chat again. We love talking all of this deep spiritual, womanly 101 planetary stuff. And that's what we're here to have fun and do and lift each other. So thanks again for being here, darling. And
thank you.
We will see you in the socials and all around too. And please come back and see us whenever you want.
Thank you. A Happy New Year.
Oh, Happy New Year. Of course. It's wonderful to be here with you too. Take care, Helena Peters.
All right.
See you in the socials.
Love you.
I love you too, honey. Bye.
Bye.
You've been listening to another Cannabis Truth Podcast with 21st century cannabis shaman Honey Smith Walls. Using cannabis mindfully as medication is a different concept in Western healthcare philosophy, specifically over the past century. There's a lot to learn and reconsider. The scientific truth of cannabis is finally getting out and is wide open for all to see at respected medical sites like the National Library of Medicine at pubmed.gov and the Journal of American Medical Association at JAMAnetwork.com. We here at the Cannabis Truth Podcast are right there in the thick of it, alongside the titans of medicine, as a fly on the wall. We are not doctors, nor did we go to medical school, but we have taken dozens of private cannabis courses and still engage in continuing education offered by expert cannabis scientists. Over the past few years, we slowly began to see and understand the bigger picture. Now we hear from people all day long about cannabis. It is so important to use verifiably safe products. The process of getting a diagnosis from your family doctor and taking your records to a cannabis specialist can lead you to the correct cannabinoid therapy for your specific issues. Otherwise, you're simply your own guinea pig looking for answers without the foundational knowledge or ability to determine your best strategy. To find a qualified cannabis expert in your area, visit cannabisclinicians.org. This is a national society of cannabis experts. Look for the link in the show notes. Unless otherwise proven by a reputable third-party lab test, please regard all street weed as contaminated. It may do grave harm to a patient with a delicate immune system who already has inflammatory issues like arthritis, IBS, fibromyalgia, or worse. Thank you so much for your time today. I hope you find value and understanding through the conversations you've heard on this podcast.